It's recording. Starting recording. So hi Ben and Euan. Hi again.
Hi.
So this will be probably the first episode of the Uncredited podcast, and we did this. We did a recording maybe 5 months ago in November before the COVID outbreak, and now because of that I've been using a lot more Skype things, and it seems that this format of doing the Skype conversations is a really nice way of seeing people's faces, as well as I don't know, I think it helps the conversation flow a bit more.
Sure.
So I just wanted to do an introduction with you guys so people can see who's talking, I guess if this is the first episode I should sort of introduce myself a little bit as well, and the reason that you guys are perfect guests for that is because I came onto your podcast, didn't I? Was that like maybe that would have been?
Oh, good. I don't know. That could have been 8 months ago, maybe. I have no idea.
Yeah. So that was called. What was your podcast? It was the End of Everything, right?
End of Everything podcast. Yep.
Yeah. Nice. And how have you found the lockdown so far?
Well, I mean, firstly, it's an honour for the first podcast. That's we put a lot of us on there. That's cool. It's been good. It's I think the whole world turning on its head thing has affected us less than most people.
Yeah, I think because we're primarily a digital business, and we left work about it's almost going on a year now, so we're very used to living in our own bubble, for like the last year. So not much has changed. I think it is more, it's a social aspect for sure. Like it's business as usual for us, but you do miss going to parties and going to the pub and all those sort of things. I think just spending all of your time with 2 or 3 people can be hard. Gets old pretty fast. But I think on the whole it's pretty good.
It's been a big change for everyone, and it's really interesting to see how everyone's sort of reacting to it at different parts of the world, as well as, and I do feel like we're quite lucky to be in New Zealand right now for this, and when I listened back to your podcast, one of the things that the words that came up, we were talking about how you guys starting your own business gave you a little bit more control over your own destiny, that's something that now a lot of people have lost control. Even what used to be a steady job is now not so much. And so you guys taking the gamble back then seems to be paying off right now, eh?
Well, that's certainly the sentiment, and I am incredibly thankful for that. In particular, it's the feeling that you can forge your own path a little bit more, or that you have the know-how. Is great, because I think as an employee and like having the floor drop out from underneath you, it can be so hard to know where to go and what to do. And like I think not that we know what to do, but we know that
it's possible. Like
it's possible. Yeah,
it's possible to turn your skill into a living, money. You know how to commence commerce by yourself. Like I think that is quite a freeing thing, and I think everyone can do it, but if you've never done it before, it takes time. It's a daunting task. I remember looking at the prospect of establishing a business, establishing how to sell things, tax, marketing, all the rest of it, and it is quite daunting, but we're still very much in the thick of learning how to do that. But I think it is in times like this I'm happy we did it, and you see the government, talking about giving loans and giving, tax breaks to employees. Like you're a lot more able to take advantage of the things out there when you're, doing it for yourself, rather than when you're an employee and you just have to kind of wait for, like Ben said, someone else to sort it out and the economy to pick up and jobs to happen again. I guess it's you're very much more of a victim of it, I guess. Well, that's how it appears to me.
But you must be the same, Joe, right? Like you must at least sort of feel a little bit. I mean, you've hopped between different countries, different companies and stuff. You must feel a little bit of security, more so than those people who have just worked at one company the whole time, right?
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Because I've been freelance, for most of my career. There's always been little periods of uncertainty, where you don't know where the next job is. So, I like to just keep a little bit of reserve in the tank, don't spend everything you earn, and just try and, basically came out of university, living like a student, and I haven't really stopped. I don't buy anything nice. I don't drive a fancy car. I don't, like, don't live in luxury, like, keep the costs down so that times like this, I can enjoy it rather than, panic. And for me, as a creative person, it's really nice to have a little bit more free time to play with and actually put some time into your own projects. And I'm really feeling the benefit of that, for my mental health, I think, as well as it certainly offsets the pros and cons to any situation. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like we were just saying before about how like all the introverted, wetter people were just sort of loving life at the moment, just like making the most of it.
Especially people can still work.
And then it gives them the perfect excuse to just not hang out with anyone.
Exactly. But then on the flip side of that, anyone who's slightly more extroverted, this would be quite if you get your energy from other people and you can't really see other people, that's harsh, eh? I kind of feel probably all of us are like somewhere in between. We've got a little bit of a balance of both in there. So you can adapt, but there's definitely certain characters that this will be really hard for.
Especially the families as well. Like I feel, like you were saying, you feel fortunate being in New Zealand for one, and then you feel fortunate being in the age that we are as well. We have very few responsibilities. We can come out the other side of this, in, I don't want to say the new world, but you know what I mean? And whatever changes we're able to adapt to. But a lot of people are set up in the system that exists now, and now it's been flipped on its head. It's very, it's a rocky road, I suppose, trying to navigate all that while you're trying to support a family and pay mortgages and all the rest of it. Like, I don't envy that position at all either. It'd be very hard for a lot of people.
I'm still light on my feet as well. I haven't got a family yet, so it's exactly. Me and my partner, we can survive this.
Absolutely.
Just like I say, we just keep our costs down, and I think it'll be fun and try and enjoy it. And I was just we were talking about how much things had changed since the last time we spoke, which was and you were saying a little bit. I'll let you talk about like the sort of journey you've been on since then.
Yeah, sure. So I think we talked in November. It's, what is it, May now?
Yep.
God, where did that come from? Anyway, so coming to November and stuff, like it was our first we went full time last April. So it was our first sort of Christmas end of year. We had no idea what to expect from the market, whether this is the time of year that people spend a lot of money on architectural renders, or if it completely dies off around this time of year. We didn't really know. And I think towards end of October and things, like work started to go, we started to get less work, and our sort of mindset was
shit.
Went with it, sure. And it's I guess it was a period of uncertainty over Christmas. We'd taken this leap, and coming out of the Christmas break in January, we were like, we really didn't know how it was gonna pan out, and if we were going to be able to survive another 3 months. We were aiming pretty low and hoping to get like one job a month. But since then it's really kicked off. Like, I think it was sort of just end of the year, no one was really thinking about that stuff, but of course everyone goes away during New Year's break, had to think about what they want to get, the initiatives they want to do in the new year, and a lot of work came our way, and our sort of spirits rose with it. So it's starting to feel a lot more stable, like we've actually kind of...
you can somewhat rely on work. I mean, I think it's also, it's partly the time of the year, but I think it's partly the fact that, we're better at what we do, as you do when you get better at things, not just the actual skill, but, presenting a consistent image and just seeming like a legit thing rather than a couple of guys in their, living room, which it is still, but you know what I mean? Like, at least it's the guys in the living room who've done work consistently and can then have clients who come back to you. That's always a really rewarding thing, is when a client returns and is really happy with your work. And in the business, or things just take time. I think at the start you ring someone, and if they don't reply to you within 2 weeks, you're just like, oh, they think I'm an idiot, I'm shit, but now you kind of go, let's just move on to the next thing. And then 2 months down the line, that they'll call you again and they want the work. It's just everyone's busy and things take a lot of time, especially not priority things. So I think just realizing all those little things helps as well.
I think it's worth pointing out too, like the business world moves slow. Like, their timeline is so much different to two guys in their lounge, worrying about every little thing and not hearing back an email. 2 days later, they're just, what's going through their head? They must have just ignored us. But I mean, these guys get hundreds of emails a day. They have so many things to do besides answer emails. Like, it's not surprising that it takes 2 weeks for them to, get to something like that. And the busier we are, the more we fit into their timeline. The more and the less pedantic or panicky we get.
You're not getting off every word.
So things seem to be aligning.
I guess it's a whole new psychological game that you guys have got to, like we were talking earlier about the psychological game of being freelance, and now there's a different psychological game of like running the business as a, what to expect, setting the expectations at the right sort of level for that sort of thing. But I think, it's really inspiring, and I really love the interview that we did, and it's nice to do this little video as an introduction. And you guys also inspired me to start doing this podcast by inviting me on your podcast to start off with. So I really and and if people want to check it out, I really recommend. It's called The End of Everything. It's on YouTube, and we basically do the same thing in reverse. So that's you can hear about basically my background, starting on some of the Marvel films and then leading up to the Star Wars films, and then wanting to start a podcast about interviewing creative people, that have come from the film industry and doing their own, wherever they are, whatever is going on in their life. And
I'm stoked you're doing it, mate. Like, I think there's so many good stories out there, and I think you're onto a winner here, and you're a great person to be doing it.
Very, very kind of you. Thank you very much. We'll see how it goes anyway. We'll put it out there. For nice little conversations like this, I'm happy with that. So cool. Well, thank you very much, guys, and I hope everyone enjoys listening to the audio.
Cool. So today we've got Ben and Euan. These are two friends that I met at Weta, but have gone on to do their own, start their own business. So I'd like to introduce Ben.
Hey, me, Ben. And I'm Euan. I'm happy to be here, Joe.
Thanks for coming on. So it's been really cool, hearing about your new business and how it's been growing. So in a little bit we'll talk about that, but maybe we'll talk about your sort of background and how you first got into sort of, first of all, the film industry, and then onto your own projects.
So Euan and I both from down south originally, like Dunedin and Christchurch, and then both kind of flocked up to Wellington to study at Massey at industrial design. Don't know, did you always have the idea that you wanted to work at Weta, or?
Yeah, it was funny one day. Like, I remember being, I was really into art at high school because there wasn't very good design classes. It was like a rural school, so it was like art was really where my passion was. But then I remember going to like the open day at industrial design, and I was like, that's for me.
I was exactly the same. Yeah,
and it was just really, really great. And it's like, oh, cool, like this is creative, but it's also practical, and it kind of a molding of engineering and art sort of thing.
There's something about that, solving problems that aren't quantum physics and some maths. Cool, this is great. These are problems that I can understand.
It's like solving problems with creativity almost. Instead of like solving problems with crunching numbers, doing research,
Yeah.
boring stuff. But yeah, I think I don't know. Like I don't know when I like was like where this for me. But it was definitely during industrial design.
Yeah, because there's basically in the industrial design class there were a section of the class here at Massey who were just massive science fiction nerds. And I think that dream quickly spread among us that we all just kind of wanted to work at Weta Workshop, and that was a dream. And we had some sort of guest lecturers that would come in and they used to work at Weta, and we're just like, oh man, that is so cool. And they'd tell us like, oh yeah, it's pretty hard work, and we didn't give a shit. We just wanted to that's all we wanted to do really.
Yeah. Also, our dean was really like a science fiction fan. Like he just loved all the classics, so he was really encouraging of it as well, which was great. That's the great thing about that place is that like they really let you build the brief into whatever you needed it to be to make and create whatever you want, and that was really awesome.
Yeah. So like us two and another guy, Jack Taylor, who are working at Weta,
And Bevan, I guess.
And Bevan, the three of us, we made a short science fiction film for our final year project, and that it was a weird one because people didn't usually team up for it, but we're essentially the same person just in various heights, and so we're like, okay, I think we could do something better together than we would be able to do apart. So we teamed up with some film school students and made a short film called, was it the Space Trash Man?
Space Trash Man.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Classic.
But yeah, we made the set, a miniature of the spaceship, and all the little props in between, and managed to find a space in the uni to film this thing, and steal a fire extinguisher to have some vapors in the back and things like that. That was really cool. And then I think just people we met through there, we ended up getting our ins into Weta Workshop.
Greg Broadmoor was one of the first people we met, and that was really great because he was is a big deal and was a big deal at the time, and for him to come, he came and met and we showed him around our set and our miniature and stuff, and like that was really awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
He was like really just the man, like.
Well, he was like a little bit of our role model at the time, as far as here's a guy kind of like us who just is really into fantasy. He loves drawing dinosaurs, and through working at Weta has managed to turn that dream, or just that passion of like being creative and drawing and things like that into creating a world, and an ecosystem where all these games and books and things are made out of. So the idea of doing that and getting paid for it is like, oh man, that sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And from there, just with a various context method at film, we all got into Weta to start on Warcraft, wasn't it?
Warcraft and Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds TV
That's
show.
right.
Cool. So and that was kind of it, really.
Yep, and that was 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, you were there for 5, and then I did a brief stint and doing architecture in London. So obviously, all the similar skills, but a lot of what I learned with Thunderbirds kind of carried over to that. I think that's probably how I got that job. Really, it's obviously doing miniature buildings basically. So yeah.
Perfect. So what other projects did you work on while you were at Weta? What film projects came through while you were there?
Cool.
Or other, not just film, because they do a bit of all sorts now.
There's all sorts, what was it? It was Warcraft, Thunderbirds with the miniatures. Then we had The Great Wall with that Matt Damon.
That beautiful
film. Oh yeah, I love that. It's so good. I think that's when I started in props. Started working in on the Great Wall, doing cleaning out the aluminium molds and stuff for that.
Sanding them down kind of thing.
I think getting rid of all the lines and stuff like
machining
that.
lines.
Machining lines, getting rid of that. And then that was the same time as Krampus, I think. Where you do the boring factory work of doing like these hundreds of or thousands of weapons, and then every now and then you get a cool little evil dwarf dagger to do like as a little reward or something like that. Like, oh cool, yeah, I know, work on this bombie knocker. Yeah, in the meantime, so it's like, okay, that was kind of cool, having those two projects at the same time.
Yeah.
And then doing the big sleigh. You weren't there at that point,
No,
were you?
that was another way.
Yeah, doing the big evil Santa sleigh, the big Krampus sleigh. That was kind of cool. God, what else did we work on? I mean, yeah. So after that,
You just got on Ghost, didn't you?
yeah, came back, and that's when I started working in 3D. And there was all Ghost in the Shell, which is like the big, probably one of the biggest films I had. One of the films I had the biggest role in, I suppose. Working on Scarlett Johansson's suit, because I was working on. I was in the CNC machine shop, because I think that's another good reason why industrial design students are really well suited to that sort of stuff, is the digital manufacture, being 3D printing, CNC machining, laser cutting.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a natural fit that became a machinist there for quite a while.
Did you work actually in the machine shop?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That was Ben Fearless and I were machinists. And then, yeah, so I'd work with costume to get the designs, or get designs of Scarlett Johansson's bodysuit, and do it into flat panels, and then I'd do all the 3D modelling, the programming for it, go and machine it. And then, realise it's wrong, go back, do it all again. And, had to do that, but then out of it, got this pretty incredible skin-tight suit.
What material was it made of?
I think it was all silicon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, sort of pink, semi-translucent. Silicon with all these, sort of these part lines all the way through it. But then, there's all sorts of things like that. And I mean, you're relying on the wizards of Weta to kind of pull off some of the things like that, like Jason Doherty with his pouring of the silicon and things like that. Like some pretty incredible stuff going on there. But yeah, what else? Because what did you work on?
I mean, I think I actually worked on Thunderbirds and Warcraft, and then obviously more recent stuff, but we can't really talk about because I only was there for a year, last year, so all that stuff's still confidential. But so it was probably just those two, which I can't really talk about. And then I was a machinist. I made fire engines for a year in the hut, which was shit. But it was a good experience, seeing how like actually real things, real things are manufactured, and it was pretty crazy. But it was basically just like mass batch manufacturing parts for fire engines. But I learned like a lot about how to machine metal properly and cutting speeds and feeds and all that stuff, which is I wouldn't say it's interesting, it's useful, it's good stuff to know, but I definitely didn't like. It was too removed from like being creative. Really, it was just too engineering-y. So that's when after that is when I went to London and worked in in the architecture industry. But yeah.
Was that just because you went quiet at Weta that you looked elsewhere
I
for another job?
I was trying to think like I think a lot of us got let go after Warcraft. I think actually I got really sick. I remember.
Oh, did you?
It was like this time of the year. I got like glange, and then this is another thing about the film industry is unfortunate things like that can happen, and you just kind of have to roll with it. If you're sick for a month, and everyone forgets that you exist. Sucks. That that's the reality of it.
Yeah, no one's paying you for that time off.
No one's paying you for that time off, and when I came back, because I'd already been there for a few months. I was really, really junior, so you haven't been there long enough to really make an impression on people. And then I think it was quiet after that. I'm not sure where you were, because I think Jack went to Mahi at that time, which is another local they used to do more film stuff, I think, but they do a lot of museum stuff.
Propeller.
Maybe you're a Propeller.
Might have been, eh?
Yeah. So you gotta be nimble on your feet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's got, I think there's a little bit less work to go around in New Zealand as my experience in the UK has been. There's been a few more doors to knock on, so to speak.
Sure.
Particularly recently, during my career, it's been quite busy. But I can imagine, having to branch out into further industries. That's really interesting about fire engine. I didn't know that was even a thing that people did. But it's really cool.
Because in the UK, would it be there'd be multiple big films on at all times, I suppose.
Yeah, so yeah, most of the time when I was there, there was at least 2 or 3 big films going on. There'd be quiet periods. It only really struggle when films were finishing at the same time.
Sure,
You know, or just starting up but not crewing up enough at the same time. So you still get little bottlenecks, but they never lasted much longer than 6 months. You know, to 9 months. Well, 9 months was the longest I had a break from it when I went to do. I got into model making as well. Did stills photography for a bit, but yeah, mostly film to film. You know, and quite often that comes with its own problems because you're then doing long hours for that film, and it's just for that film, and then here's another one, and you're doing the same treatment again, and it rolls on and rolls on. So you have the opposite extreme, feast or famine, where you've almost got too much on, or like you don't dare take a holiday because you don't want to turn down the next job in case the timing doesn't work out the next time. But I tried to play it so that I did get little breaks every now and then, and did little holidays.
Just delay your start dates.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a negotiation thing, and there's a bit of a risk involved. But
everyone's used to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, like I said, but I think if it had been more competitive, for you guys, then that would have been much harder. I think.
And usually it's just one big film here, or so like the dips or the rises and troughs are just pretty much based around that one film. And we were kind of talking about the other day the kind of the stress of that, and I mean like there's a little bit of a perpetual stress because it's the stress of being really busy there's so much going on, and then as soon as you get a hint of it being quiet, like it's the stress of having no work, and and what a normal employment would be is a little bit of a rest period. This is nice, I'm getting paid the same amount, but it's just a bit quieter, that's like the reward for like the stressful bit.
Yeah, it can be quite anxiety inducing. I've definitely felt that being over here as well, because with the visa sort of situation, so like basically if the work runs out, then I have to leave the country, and obviously if you're setting up a life somewhere, you don't want that fragility. That is quite a big life-changing event that's going to happen or not happen, or you have to kind of, you can't think about it too much, you've just got to sort of roll with it, I suppose. Hopefully the projects are engaging enough that that makes up for it. But,
that's it. I mean, that's the really cool bit, is that you get to work on these pretty amazing projects, and they get broadcast around the world, and everyone can you can show it to your mum and wherever she is, and just like, did that thing, cool.
It's one of those songs as well, like I wonder how much it's kind of like fate. I don't say fate decides, but like it's like so much luck or sort of circumstance like directs you in a way. I mean, I think that's probably the case in any career and any anyone's life. But if it wasn't quiet at Weta at that time, or I hadn't got sick and I'd stayed through, and I wouldn't have worked at Fraser's, then maybe I wouldn't have gone to England, and maybe I would have been at Weta the whole time. Like I wonder how those little things would have affected it in different ways. I mean, I think I always wanted to go overseas, so I probably would have left even if I was at Weta for longer, but it's hard to know really.
Do you think that was a factor for you guys, branching off and starting your own company, was just to have a bit more of control over your own destiny, sort of thing?
I think, control's the big word, I reckon. Because some people say freedom, like having the freedom, but it's certainly not freedom. It's just still, I mean, we're finding we're still, I think in a way to justify it to ourselves, we are still working as hard as we possibly can, doing full days, and you also almost have less freedom in that.
You're directly responsible to your client.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the industry. I mean, but I think you're a hard stretch to find a business that's not the case. I think about a farm, maybe, some things like that where you're not really selling a commodity, but any time that you're selling a service or product, it's just customer and you have to sort it out, otherwise people aren't happy. And so that in some regards that's less freedom, like you said.
Yeah, and I think that control is just a double-edged sword. In that, well, it's great in that you can, you control your own destiny, I suppose. And point things where you want, and if you don't like something, great, change the business, change something you have direct control over that, but then you are directly responsible for those changes, and if it doesn't work out, then you might be eating noodles for a week.
You've only got yourself to blame, and but probably more to learn that way as well, like direct sort of contact with that kind of thing. So we should also outline what your business is as well. So Dreambox is
sure. I mean, Dreambox is a digital visualization company, which is mostly focused in sort of architecture and real estate, sort of the property market. And essentially what we do is we communicate and visualize projects or property. For example, if a developer came along and made a big apartment, and he needs to sell that apartment, but it's not built yet. So he needs, before he gets his loan approved from the bank, he needs to sell 50% of the apartments in the apartment block. And he's going to need some really pretty imagery and material. Might be like a virtual walkthrough to show people, hey, it's going to look great when it's done. Trust me. Give us your money now, and you can have it when it's done. So he needs some really good imagery and content to basically show that off to people, and that's what we've been creating. The genesis of Dreambox was this idea we kind of seen this trend of our parents and many other people who struggled to understand these spaces just off 2D plans. There's a lot of people like architects being the prime example who, can read a set of plans and now know exactly what the house looks like and how big the lounge will feel or whatever. But there's a lot of people that, looking at the 2D floor plan will not understand at all what it's going to be like to live in that house.
Yeah, absolutely. I think different people's brains work in different ways. So the more close to the reality you can show them, and the things that you've shown me, we'll put some links to some of the videos. Really cool animation that things popping out, and it's seeing a flat plan become what is you can very much see that is a room or a bunch of rooms in a complex, and it's very interesting.
And I think it's coming from the creative industry, it's hard to put yourself in that mindset. You take it very much for granted that you're really, especially using 3D modeling and that sort of things, you're so used to visualizing things off plans, and putting things in your mind's eyes becomes quite easy. I suppose it's just this kind of line of work, but there's just a lot of people that that's not their job. They don't have to interact or think that way at all. So it's taken us a while to realize that, just how many people there are like that who struggle to visualize, given like a little 2D drawing or stuff like that. So that's been really interesting.
Yeah. So where did the whole idea for this business come from? Like, was this start off as a sort of side project, a pet project, or was it sort of like intended? Like, did you see a problem that you wanted to fix, or is that me?
I was thinking when I came back from London, I think soon after, when I was in London, I was trying to think of ways to, make and sell jewellery or something to try and create an income or a business outside of it. But in London, it was very hard just because of the nature of London. Not enough time and not enough money to do anything really. So I think when I came back, and then you also tried to do something with some other guys as well. I was away.
Yeah, talking about it. Yeah.
Talking about it. So I think when we lived together, we're like, oh, we should try and do something. So that's when the balls started rolling, and I think we liked the idea that we could just do it using computers. We're both pretty CAD savvy guys. That's our background. We like it. It's our strength. So we thought how can we derive a business from this? And then at the same time, my parents were building a house, and they were saying it's so annoying that I didn't know, my house is not, it's not way different to what I imagined, but there's things in here that I didn't really realise when I was looking at the plans that would have been nice to know. So we're like, there's definitely a gap in the market here. We can do something. So then that was about 2 years ago. Yeah. Pretty much 2 years ago. That we started experimenting in that space. So
and it was basically at the same time that I was starting to explore a lot of this visualization stuff for Weta's new ventures, let's say the Gallipoli exhibition at Te Papa, doing more of the exhibition work, and visualizing what it's actually going to be like to walk around this stuff when it's done. I.e., do we need to put hair on the top of his head because no one's actually going to be that tall to see it. So if you can walk around it in 3D and see it how like a visitor would see it, then it's like we might save ourselves a lot of time here and make better design decisions. So I'd started experimenting with a lot of that, and we were kind of realizing that there might be some real potential here for a little business to help out the industry. But we knew very little about it, didn't we?
Yeah, it's been a big old learning curve, but it's an interesting one. Like sometimes you do think, like you do look back and you're like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? Like, how do we arrive there? And it's sometimes hard to know really. But so we are.
you really are just kind of riding the wave for the majority of the time. Like, as far as you're putting something out there, like, hey, you're doing this thing. That's like, oh no, we don't really want that thing. We want this kind of thing. Oh, okay. Well, we're looking more into that thing. And it's like, oh yeah, no, we like that sort of thing, but half the price. And it's like, oh, okay, you want that. Okay, so we have to do that cheaper. And then you realize that, you're charging it like that, or you might be talking to the wrong people, or you are undervaluing yourself hugely, and you just slowly become aware of the landscape. It's, I don't know, you do change your the direction like constantly, don't you? Or we've found that.
Yeah, I think it's I suppose it's like just putting things out there, seeing how people respond, and then making informed decisions about that moving forwards, and then trying to just rinse and repeat that process as fast as possible until you run into something which works. And I think that is essentially what a lot of businesses do, and I think a lot of people think, well, that's such a great idea and that's so simple, but so much work goes into even the simplest of things, and like refining it to the point that it's actually something which people understand and relate to and all the rest of it. And it's an interesting like weird journey, but sometimes you definitely feel like you don't know if you're like stepping towards a goal, or you're sort of just like spiraling around. Like, are you spiraling towards a goal, or are you spiraling towards a solution which exists, or are you sort of just aimlessly wandering between random solutions? And like sometimes that definitely goes through your mind because it feels a bit like that sometimes.
And I think some people probably start a business with this idea of a wonder product. Like, I've got this idea or this perfect product that's going to be huge, and now I just need to execute it and find the right people. Whereas we kind of started the business with a toolkit, and we're just like, okay, here's the sort of stuff we can do. Let's work out what exactly that product or services using our toolkit, and so it's been it's taking ages to just establish which combination of those tools is going to it's going to be the best result for people, or like get us across the line.
Yeah, it's really interesting, really inspiring to have people on the uncreative journey. Like you guys are one of the few examples that I know of people like really taking the leap and going for it, and
Sure,
it's really great to sort of see what this stuff you've been coming up with is fantastic.
I hope we can actually pull it off for us. It's gonna be...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think sometimes you think of that, but you just got to really, you're learning so much, and like even if this iteration of this thing doesn't work, like we're better for it, and we've, like you said, you spend that time, money, investing in yourself and learning, and then when the next thing comes around, you're going to be 100 times better at it and know so much more about how to start and what things you need to look out for. And it's just I think it's just part of it. Like you just got to know that you're going to be shit to start. Like it's but what else can you do?
I think our most valuable asset has been our acknowledgement of our ignorance. We know we're two product designers who know very little about business, coming into the business world, and like we've had a few business mentors. We've just asked people for help, and I mean that's been the best part, is that you learn so much from other people, and using the card of we are two young guys really keen who just want to learn and starting a new business, and a lot of people. I don't know if it's a New Zealand thing in particular, but they're just so willing to help and give you advice and go easy on you, which is great. Yeah, it's been a huge help. But we've learned a lot. It's like, I mean, we're kind of comparing it to our university degree, and what we've spent of our own savings trying to start this business, is probably money well spent if it was a university course, in that we have learned so much in this sort of time about the business world, and through going through it, I suppose, ourselves, and failing, and learning, and it's been fantastic.
And also, you don't have to live with you're experiencing the flip side of what we were talking about earlier, whereas you're at the whim of the nature of the film industry, where it's coming and going. Now you have taken that control, and you're realizing the other side of the coin, which is the pros of being in control, but also the negatives of and the responsibility that comes with that. So even if you've learned what that feels like now, so you never live like the grass is greener sort of thing. You've had that, and wherever that takes you, whether it becomes a great success, or whether you decide that actually it's better off. Totally, you know what I mean? Yeah. You still know now. You've tried that.
Yep.
But I think it will be a great success. I think you'll do great, and it'd be really good to do this podcast again, and like a year's time or something, and see where you are at that
Gucci, Louis Vuitton suits and stuff.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Or flying a helicopter on the roof.
Yeah. Oh, you'll be too busy to see me now.
We'll do it by Skype from some island somewhere.
I think you're so right about that flip side of the thing. Is I think a lot of people who are employed think that their employee is just living the high life, employer. Sorry, it's all easy. They're just milking them for all they're worth and taking advantage of them. But I'm sure that happens, but I think it's rarely the case. It's really, really hard, and people don't realize how expensive running a business is, and all the costs and complexities that are involved in it. And it's hard.
You are seeing both sides of it now. Like the management business owner side, and what it means to bring on an employee, what it would mean to us to bring on an employee to carry out our brand and our dream and our level of quality. It's that's a big thing to trust someone with, And if you saw someone slacking or
it would be an emotional response
exactly.
which is unfair because it's just a job to them. But
absolutely, and how can you expect them to have the same dream and passion that you do? So you can see how all these conflicts arise. But I mean, I think we've talked about it a couple of times. I think if we were to be employees again, we would just be far better employees than we've ever been. Because we appreciate that now. It's such a sort of valuable lesson. Yeah.
That's good. Well, thank you for talking through us. It's a really great insight into that sort of thing. And like I say, we'll definitely have to catch up again later. And good luck with everything. And we'll have to throw some links into this so people can see your stuff. And
Cheers,
great.
Man, that sounds great.
Nice one.
Cheers,
all right, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Right.